If you're one of those people that thinks to themselves, man, I wish my mouse had like 50 buttons and basically was like a second keyboard to me, then the Razer Naga line is obviously for you, and the Naga V3 Pro has just launched the latest in a series of mice from Razer for the ultra sweaty gamers who need everything macroed up. Though of course that is a bit of a generalization. If you do any kind of work in say video editing or say Photoshop and you just want to have all of those buttons right at your fingertips, then it's still potentially a great option for you as well. So it's not just for people who are playing like, I don't know, MMOs and need every single action mapped to a button on their mouse. Obviously, when compared to some of the other Razer mice unboxings we've done recently, this one's a bit more, well, complex because as you can see, we have all of these additional modules that we can swap out. By default, and the thing that the mouse is known for the most is this right here, a whopping 12 buttons right here on the side. Basically, it's like a T9 layout plus 3 more at the bottom, but without a 0. Naturally, depending on the size of your hands and your fingers, it may be kind of uncomfortable. Like for me and my like slightly below average hands, I guess, they are big enough. But I'm one of those people who thought that the Switch 1 Joy-Cons were a good size, and apparently I'm in a minority for that, so what do I know? However, if this is just too many buttons for you and you don't need that many, then you can just swap them out. The system itself is pretty much unchanged from the V2. However, they've said that the pins themselves have been improved and dust is less likely to gather in them and cause any kind of issues there. So if a whopping 12 buttons is too much for you, then you can grab this module right here, which instead gives you 6 slightly bigger buttons and also this additional grip on the side. So that is always an option, and if that is still too many, then you can just go for this, which gives you kind of the traditional 2 that stuff like the Death Adder or the Viper have as well. The one thing to keep in mind is that in those other mice, what Razer have done recently is basically increase the distance between these 2 buttons in order to basically prevent the chances of a misclick. Here they have not done that, and they're basically right next to each other, so that's something to keep in mind. However, if those 12 additional buttons still isn't enough, well, don't worry, because you have 2 more right here next to the left click, 2 more here in the middle, and of course you can map the middle click to be whatever else you want as well. Plus also this right here, which is where you usually kind of rest one of your fingers, well, that is also a button as well. Though obviously for some people that last button may be a bit annoying. Like imagine you just normally resting your hand here, then all of a sudden your finger just kind of dips in and basically clicks down on it. Well, don't worry, Razer has all of that. There's actually a lock right here at the bottom. You just simply do that and boom, just like that, it's gonna lock this side button so your finger isn't gonna accidentally slip into it. Speaking of the bottom of the mouse, another thing you'll see here is this little puck which you just take out, and you can replace it with one of the pucks needed for the various wireless charging platforms that Razer provides. So that's both the mat and also the little charging dock as well. They're both compatible with the Naga. So what on earth are you going to do with all of those buttons? Well, Razer do have some suggestions on how you can map it to specific games, for example. Though of course the big magic of it is of course being able to customize it with super specific macros that do multiple actions at once, have the actions be timed or on repeat, etc. So no matter what games you're playing, that's probably something you can do with this mouse. And then what you're able to do is save multiple profiles on the mouse itself, so you can have different ones for different games, and then switch between them with just a click of a button. Though of course, that is with the big caveat that you aren't going to get banned for it, given how a lot of games do have anti-cheats that are going to get you suspended or even outright banned from the game if they catch you using some macros that give you some kind of unfair advantage. And obviously if you buy this mouse, then well, Razer is going to be held liable if you do lose access to your favorite game. So the best thing to do is just look online, see how trigger happy various anti-cheats in various games are, to see what you can get away with, and just proceed with caution. There's plenty of pre-made macros already available in Razer's marketplace in Synapse/Synapse/ however you want to pronounce it. And of course, if you create any cool ones, you can just upload them there yourself as well. And of course, it doesn't have to be for games either. If like me, you do a lot of video editing, then what you can do is just map all of the various things you could ever need to these 12 buttons, and you're basically set for life. No need for a Stream Deck, no need for additional editing keyboards or anything like that. Oh, okay, there's still some things this mouse can't do, but in general, it's so useful just to have all of these options right here, just to save those extra milliseconds of time, basically. I do, however, wish there was some better way of storing these modules that you aren't currently using, instead of just the little plastic enclosure it came with. Like, I don't know, just give us a nice Razer branded little storage box we can put on our desk or whatever, just so we have them handy whenever we want to swap them out. In terms of the overall comfort of this mouse, it's unique, given how, well, bulbous it is there in the very middle. Compared to, for example, the Viper, which has actually become my daily driver, the difference is, well, pretty big, as you can see in the shape of the two mice and how much they kind of protrude out into your hand. So that's something to keep in mind and definitely get used to, though some will say that it's probably more ergonomic that way as well. Another thing to keep in mind is the weight, given how this thing clocks in at 117 grams, though that's with the 12-button layout. It's still definitely lighter than the Naga V3 Pro, but it's definitely not like the other flagship mice from Razer, where they did everything to shave off every last spare gram. The issue with having so many buttons is that there is no natural rest or natural grip for your thumb to rest on. The one thing I definitely do appreciate is also the fact that you get a very clear point for your ring finger to rest on right here, something that mice like the Viper clearly lack. Now, battery-wise, it is rated at 155 hours when using a 2.5 gig connection and 280 hours if going via Bluetooth. Then there's all of the other stuff that actually make this a next-gen product. Like, for example, the Hyperscroll Gen 2 wheel, which actually has different scrolling modes for you to choose from. The special optical Gen 4 switches, and of course Razer's 3rd Gen 50K optical sensor as well. Obviously, they've done so much work in terms of eliminating latency, increasing accuracy, and making the movement feel as good as possible in games, and now the Naga has caught up with the Def Adder and Viper in those areas. However, it's still just so hard for me to really get excited about that kind of stuff when it's just so impossible to notice for most average users. I mean, unless you're like the top 0.1% of esports athletes, then you probably won't really see any difference in these next generation parts in this new line of Razer mice. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that it doesn't come with 8K pooling out of the box like those other Razer mice I'm tired of saying their names of at this point. However, you can buy an accessory to allow that, though again, I don't think too many people are going to miss that. And sure, it's great that even a lot of these claims that Razer make are being validated by third parties. The fact that you have to go out of your way to validate something like that just also shows how difficult it is to sense or appreciate for the average Joe. Sure, all things combined, the experience is probably slightly better than, say, a competitor's mouse, but again, will you ever notice that difference? Well, it just kind of really depends on how sensitive you are to that yourself. Though of course, if you're gonna get this mouse or not also depends by how shocked you are when you hear the price, because, well, it is gonna cost you a whopping $180 or the same in pounds, and then 200 euros? Yeah, I have no idea why the pricing in the different currencies is so weird there, and I don't think Razer know either. So, for that price, will you be getting this thing right here? Well, let me know down in the comments below. There's nothing to really complain about. The shape does take some getting used to, and just having so many buttons is so great if you have the use case for it. Otherwise, well, it's probably just going to be a bit too inconvenient and not worth the bother. In short, this thing is like a big unruly monster you have to learn to control, but once you do, and you learn how to best take advantage of it, then it probably won't disappoint. And again, try not to get banned if you actually get this thing, but if you do want to get it, then the links to it will be down in the video description below, alongside our Patreon, because even a single $1 a month truly goes a long way. Plus, huge thanks to Gavin Burns, Justin Rage, Ella Roniak, Balish Vokan, the pseudonym Mexican Machine, Allcroft, and Mason Magruder. But anyway, that's about it, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then remember to subscribe, like, whatever, and I'll see you all in whatever I make next. Goodbye, everyone. Goodbye.